we're going to bring up your next speaker. That's going to be the wonderful, magnificent Chris James.
If you talk about how much you hate your fat, your body has been working all this time to keep you alive.
I don't think anybody in my circle understands impossible. What's going on, AHA family? Chris James here, and today I'm inspired to speak to you guys about adversity, and especially as it relates to some of the things I've had to deal with in my life. And this conversation was kind of inspired by a conversation I had earlier today. So let's get into it. How can you use adversity to your advantage? Well, the first thing I want you guys to understand, and look, the reality is this topic is probably not going to get a ton of views. It's not going to get a lot of traction. If you're here and you're seeing this content, understand that this is the type of content that's going to help you get from A to B. This is the stuff in the middle that nobody ever sees. It's not as flashy or as popular as the weight loss videos, but if you guys get locked into this type of content right here, this is going to help you get to A to B, and then you can come on the show and you can share about your journey. So, the first thing we want to think about is the idea that, pressure makes diamonds, okay? So that's a very old concept. It's literally, you have carbon that's under an immense amount of pressure for a period of time, and that's what really makes a diamond what it is. That's what makes it so strong. That's what makes it so shiny. That's what makes it valuable, or at least our perceived value of diamonds. That's a whole different story. But when you are going through adversity in your life, what you need to do is look at the situation, and instead of saying, why me? Why is this happening to me? Or looking at other people and be like, they don't got to go through this. They don't got to go through that. And understand that this squeezing, this pressure, life is trying to squeeze something out of you. Life is trying to put pressure into you so that you can be solidified and be something greater. And so when you think about like asking God or the universe or whatever it is that you believe in, you say, I want to be, I want to have, I want to project, I want these things. Well, guess what? This is that higher power responding. Okay, we think it's going to respond with the thing. We think it's going to respond with the new car, with the new job, with the new husband, with the new wife, with whatever. And that's not how it works. In reality, if you were to get what you needed right now, today, without having to put in any work, without having to develop, without having to go through the adversity, you wouldn't be the person that you need to be in order to maintain that thing. So ultimately, you would lose it. You'd fumble the bag, which then you got to learn to live with regrets. We don't want to deal with any of that. And if you look at your life, if you look at, in the past, things you've experienced, you've probably seen this play out. You've probably seen where you got something and you weren't ready for it, whether it was a person or whether it was a lot of money or whether it was a position or whatever the case may be, okay? So we need to learn to be grateful for adversity because it puts the pressure on you in order for you to become stronger, become more slated, and then, of course, you can become that person that you need to be in order to maintain whatever it is you want to achieve, all right? The next point I wanted to make was adversity has this amazing way of unlocking hidden potential, all right? So you don't really know how strong you are until you're put under the test. This is the reason why when you go to the gym, people try to max out. They want to see what's my personal best. If I'm at 100% health, maybe I just do my little warm-up, whatever. I want to go, how much can I put up one time, okay? And what that does is it sets a bar for you, right? And so you understand your limitations, and then you can kind of like see progress and all that stuff. But the amazing thing about adversity and putting pressure under yourself is it's almost like, okay, you can lift 200 pounds, you're just doing your thing, you're at the gym, boom, you can put it up one time. Cool, that's great. But then when you're put under stress, when you're put under pressure, now you unlock adrenaline. And that adrenaline, you're in fight or flight, you have a lot of adrenaline, and now you're able to lift 150 pounds more, right? Because the environment is drawing out your hidden potential. And that is the benefit of going through things. You really get to see what you're made of. See, we think we know what we're made out of, right? You've gone through a certain amount of things in your life. You've pushed yourself to a certain level, but there is hidden potential. There are limit breaks. We can literally break through limitations because all the limitations are all here anyway. They're all in your head to begin with. So the benefit of going through adversity is it actually will draw out that hidden potential. And then once you're aware of it, once you know what you can do, you set a new baseline. And so it will actually rapidly allow you to grow if you will engage with it properly, if you will look at it as a tool, look at it as a benefit versus woe is me. Do not be a victim. And it's interesting because, science will actually back this. People who go through hard times come out on the other side more resilient, more adaptable, and more confident. Like, if you're afraid to get on stage and public speaking, a lot of people are definitely afraid of public speaking. How do you get over that? How do you become better? You do it. You face your fear. See, we're just thinking about the fear part. We're just thinking about the adversity part. We're just looking at the negative side of things. If you face your adversity, you become stronger, more resilient, more capable, right? I did a whole lesson on this at our most recent retreat where I talked about becoming a capable person. Just a powerful tool that I've learned through my personal experience. And honestly, I've experienced some really tragic things, and I wouldn't change any of it. And the reason why is I would be so scared that it would change who I am today. And I love who I am today. Now, if you're at a place in life where you don't love who you are, that's okay, right? You can aspire to be better. When you're at a place where you feel like you're at your lowest, your bottom, and things don't seem to go your way, that's okay, because any progress you make will be a step forward. So you've got nowhere to go but up if you feel like you're at your lowest. It's actually a really good place to build motivation, because sometimes when you're doing really well, sometimes you get complacent. It's hard to be a self-starter because there's nothing really pushing you. There's no environment that's really pushing you. When you're in a bad environment, that pushes you to be better if you allow it. And keep in mind, as we go through this, I'm going to keep talking about this. You have to allow adversity to be your benefit. It's not going to do it on its own. You control the keys. Here's the next one. Pain builds perspective. When you go through something, you see life differently. And that different vision is actually your benefit. That gives you the one up on the competition. Whatever that competition may be, it's literally your edge. Pain is not just something you survive. It's a teacher. It's life teaching you a lesson. Once again, if you allow it. You can't allow your pain to just be pain. You can fumble that back. Like, it is so interesting. In business, the reason why most people fail in business is because they're looking for all the solutions that other people have. They're trying to like follow a blueprint that other people have already laid. What you don't understand about people who are successful in business is that if somebody lays out a blueprint, right? They're telling you what they did to be successful. And they're also giving you game on how you can overcome the adversity that they overcame. The problem is when you run their blueprint, you find a new hurdle that you have to overcome. And because you're used to looking for other people's blueprints, you go and you say, well, let me find somebody who's already hurdled this obstacle and see what they have to. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's wisdom. That's smart, right? But here's the problem. You don't develop chops. And what I mean by that, you're not tempering yourself. You are seeking advice from others on how to make your life easier, to be more successful, to streamline things, but you're not learning what it takes to overcome that stuff yourself. So you're not as strong as the people that came before you because they actually hit adversity head on, whereas you're just following a blueprint. Now that's going to work to a degree, but at some point you're going to get to a place, you're going to come to a unique obstacle that you can't outsource. You can't outsource how to overcome that obstacle. It's unique to your business, your life, whatever, and you're going to have to learn how to overcome that obstacle. Now here's the interesting thing. If you buckle down, you put your head down and you work hard and you figure it out, now you've got something to teach. Now you've got something unique you could teach and add to the pool of entrepreneurs that are coming behind you. But we all gotta have skin in the game. We all gotta put towards that effort. And it's no difference in your wellness journey, in your financial life, or just in relationships, your spiritual walk. You're going to have to learn how to overcome adversity. You're gonna have questions. And if you don't have questions, you need to find some questions. The reason why some people are rapidly growing while others are more stagnated is because people who rapidly grow, they ask questions, right? Don't just take things at face value. Ask questions. Hey, why do you say that? What do you mean when you say that? Okay, well, if I do X, Y, Z, then what will happen, right? You have to engage in life. You cannot be a bystander in life and be successful. You have to play the game. You have to engage, ask questions, learn, do critical thinking. All of these things will help you develop. And as you build those chops, as you go through that pain, you will become more resilient. You will become tempered, and you will be more successful in the future because you're gonna use those tools you learned, and you're gonna apply it towards the next obstacle. So they become building blocks. Let your pain, let your experience, let your adversity guide your decisions. Okay? And then then you can help other people, like I mentioned before, which is ultimately what we want to do. Number 4, struggle produces strategy. Here's the truth. When things get hard, you get creative. They say when the most dangerous place to put an animal in is with their back against the wall. Right? You got a cat, you got his back against the wall. There's nowhere for it to go except through you. That survival instinct kicks in, okay? And that survival instinct causes you to think outside the box. It also puts you in a fear state, which will cause you to do things you wouldn't do otherwise when you're comfortable. See, when you're uncomfortable, you're willing to put it all on the line because what do you have to lose, right? When you're comfortable, you have a lot to lose. So people who are constantly able to drive themselves forward are always putting themselves in positions that are uncomfortable, right? You're not going to necessarily put yourself back in the same position you were in before because that's progress. You're going to progress and you're going to put yourself in a new uncomfortable position. But that's what's going to keep you growing. So this is what's going to make sure that you're prepared for the next obstacle because you're always putting your mindset. You're like, I say you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And as you struggle, right? And it's going to be a different struggle. And you want new struggle. At the beginning of the year, I said, I want new problems. I want new problems. Why? Because new problems represent growth. When you're struggling with the same problems over and over, you're not learning. That's the problem. So you want to be a bystander in life. Problems keep happening. The same problems keep happening. You're hitting your head against that wall over and over. Aren't you tired of that? That gets old, right? You don't want to keep having the same problems over and over. So make a decision. You know what? I'm going to turn my struggle into strategy. I'm going to figure out how to get out of this problem. You know why? Because for every problem, there's a solution. That's my motto. Like, really think about that. I want you to think about whatever problem, whatever adversity you have going on in your life. You may feel like it's insurmountable because you're in it, you're in the weeds. But the reality is, there is no light without darkness. There is no darkness without light. As a matter of fact, there's a delicate dance between the two. In order for darkness to exist, light has to exist. They feed off of each other. In order for light to exist, darkness has to exist, right? Light casts a shadow. They are two sides of the same coin. So we also have that part of us. And our life story is going to play out and it's going to teach us this. If you try to ignore the shadow side of you, you're literally ignoring half of your existence. You can't do that. There's nothing wrong with engaging with your shadow side. It's a part of you and you can draw strength from it. It's an interesting thing that happens in biology, I guess you'll call it. When an environment becomes when an environment lacks oxygen, okay, let me start over. When you have an environment that's oxygen rich, the microbes in that environment will be one kind of creature. When you have an environment where there's little to no oxygen, a different type of creature develops and grows. The body has the ability to pull energy from the muscles when they are oxygenated, but also when they aren't properly oxygenated. Now, obviously, one of those is going to be something more sustainable, and it's going to be probably healthier for you in the long run. But being able to pull energy out of a system that doesn't have its primary fuel source is a redundancy that I'm all here for. We don't necessarily want to live in that world where we're relying on this alternative fuel source that isn't as beneficial as its primary source, but having it on reserve is a great thing. I kind of look at the shadow side that way. You may not want to live as your shadow self, right? The things about you that you feel like need to be changed, adjusted, or adapted. But when you need to get grimy in the streets because someone is threatening you, you want to be able to call on that inner, you know what I'm saying? You want to be able to call on that inner ninja. You see what I'm saying? So don't deny the parts of you that you feel like aren't as pretty or beautiful because you need them. You need those parts of you. Let's move on. Number 5, resistance builds resiliency. So as you back to fitness, resistance training is probably one of the best ways to build strength, right? Resistance training, it kind of reminds me of calisthenics. I'm not really a fitness guy, so, take this with a grain of salt, but, resistance training kind of reminds me of like lifting your own body weight, moving things, gripping and all these types of things. It's not about just pushing weight, right? So you can build an aesthetic by pumping iron, or you could build strength by doing resistance and calisthenics and things of that nature. It's like applying your muscles, like you're applying your muscles in a different way using full body and things of that nature. It builds a different type of strength or a different type of physique. And so outside of the fitness world, when you are experiencing resistance with certain types of people, when you are experiencing resistance in certain types of environments, depending on the circumstance, you may not be able to remove yourself from that environment or change those people. You may have to learn how to work with those people or work in that environment, and that resistance will actually help you build resiliency. Maybe you're quick to anger, right? You got a short temper, and or maybe you don't have a short temper, but certain people know how to push your buttons. Well, you can allow them to control you, or you can build a resiliency to it so that their tactics are non-effective, right? It just depends on what you're experiencing, but understand that when you're resisting something, when you've been through something, when you've overcome something, that experience does make you stronger if you let it. You can always be the victim. You can always play the other side of the coin if you want to. What I'm doing today is I want to make sure you guys understand that all the things that you might look at as bad things in life, they're not good or bad. It's really your decision. How do you perceive it? What do you get from it? And how do you become better or worse because of it? But that's all up to you. It's not about what happens. It's about how you deal with what happens. All right, let's talk about failure. Most people think that failure is the opposite of success, but actually it's the seed of success. It's the soil that success is grown in. Edison didn't fail 10,000 times. He found 10,000 ways that didn't work. You see that? Every setback is feedback. So you can get very granular in your path, how you approach things, because you've tried it literally every other way, right? Not literally, but you know what I'm saying. If you failed 10,000 times, you know what works and what doesn't work. You know what I'm saying? Like, in sales, they say you never know. You might be one no away from your yes. So when I was in sales heavy, one of the attitudes I used to have was I welcomed no's. Right? You're selling something, you want somebody to purchase. No, I'm good. No, I'm good. No, I'm good. Okay, cool. It takes a certain amount of no's to get a yes. That's sales. And this is one of the reasons why a lot of people are terrible at sales, because they're just looking for the yes. They're only focused on the yes. I got a product. It's $300. You want to buy it? Yes. I got a product. It's $300. You want to buy it? Yes. Ooh, making money. $600, $1,200, $2,400. All I did was talk to 5 people. Like, that's what everybody wants. That's not how sales works. You need to shift your mind and say, every no is taking me closer to my yes. So how many no's do I need to get in order to get a yes? And then it becomes the law of averages. And then once you understand the law of averages, it's all a numbers game. It's not a big, you could take the emotion completely out of it. See, we can apply that same knowledge and understanding and wisdom to our life. Guys, you might understand this, right? Because we're the ones that typically approach women. Back in the day, we used to go to the mall, and maybe some of the ladies listening are ones that were being hit on, but we would go to the mall. We'd see it'd be a group of guys, it'd be a group of girls in the mall. You look at the group, oh, she's cute. All right, cool. Then your guys hype you up. Well, go talk to her then. You know what I'm saying? And you finally build up the courage. You go talk to the girl. It's already a terrible position because it's a group of girls. So if she's by herself, it's much easier. But now you have to think about the group think, right? If the girls don't think you're cute and she thinks you're cute, you have a less chance of success. But that's not the point. The point is you gotta earn your chops. You gotta go and you gotta put in reps. Hey, what's going on? Like, I saw you from over there. Me and my boys hanging out. You know, we're about to grab something to eat. I thought you were really attractive. Want to know if I can get your number, get to know you, blah, blah, blah. Right? No, I'm good. I have a boyfriend. All right, cool. Well, you ladies have a great day. Don't be emotional about it, right? You just take it on the head. Boom. Learn from it. Was there something you could have said different? Could you approach different? Could you dress different? Blah, 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 blah. And as you start to do it more and more, now, you know, this is why you got these guys who are dating coaches or hookup coaches or whatever, who could tell you how to talk to women, how to get them, because it's a science behind it. Well, you can apply that same thing to your life, right? It doesn't matter. We're just giving examples. But the reality is that your failure is going to create that soil for your success to grow. That's how it works. Nobody is successful in everything the first time they do it. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to tell you something else too. The other side of it is, think about it if you were successful. The first time you ever did anything, you were always successful. That's not fun. And I'm just being real. Like, we think about the extreme opposite because we feel like we never win. But what if you only could win? It would be terrible. Life would be boring. I heard Lil Wayne talk one time about, you know, his life and how, you know, when he was 13, boom, he's doing all this, making money, and then you know, he starts rapping, he gets his first check and all that type of stuff. And as he continued to rise in fame and stardom, he's traveling to Paris and Germany and Japan, and, you know, he's doing all of this stuff. He's buying all the cars, he's living in all the mansions. And by the time he's like 30, he's like, bro, it's nothing to do. Life is boring. I've done everything. I've done everyone. Like, and look, and I think Wayne is an incredible artist. I love the gift that he gave to this world. But also, when you look at his life, his health, he doesn't seem happy to me. I don't think he said he was happy. I don't think he's happy. He doesn't look happy. He doesn't look healthy. And I think he's an example of somebody who's had it all. Living life fast and just, I just feel like that's the opposite end. So you might not want to be where you are now, but you also don't want to be where Wayne is now. And that's just my opinion. Other people may have their own take on it. But I think that failure makes life fun. And it's a weird way to look at it. But if you look at it that way, it removes the energy and the power that maybe is what you consider negative. And I'm not saying anything I don't do. Right? Last year was the most challenging, difficult year that I've had in existence. Okay? It was rough. I had to learn major stress management, and I did. And now I know. Like, I'm much better at stress management than I was 2 years ago. And so when I'm asking to for the brand to expand. I want to help more people, and I want to build research facilities, and I want all these things. Well, how can I do it if I'm not stress tested? Like, what happens when you've got, 100 employees instead of 6 or 10? What happens when everything goes wrong and it's $1 million on the line versus $100,000 on the line, right? So you have to go through this stress testing in order to become the person you need to be to get to where you said you want to go. All right. Ultimately, I believe that if you look at it the right way, adversity creates appreciation. You're never going to truly value freedom. You're not going to value your lifestyle. It's basically what I was saying before. Like you're gonna feel like there's nothing to do and life's not fun. And I know some of y'all don't like this guy Andrew Tate, but he had put a tweet out maybe a week or so ago, maybe it was longer. I mean, he was talking about how, he's wealthy, right? He's always talking about how much money he has and all this stuff. He's got the money, he's got the fame, he's got the cars, he's got the girls, he has everything, and he's just like, life is boring. I can do anything I want. I can go anywhere I want. Life is boring. So the grind, having adversity. I bet you he wasn't bored when he was fighting for his life because he was put in jail and all that. Yeah, that looks like a terrible situation, fighting this organized crime charge and all this other stuff. But I bet it was exciting for him. Look, I'm not saying I want to go through that because I do not. Give me different problems, life. I don't want to do nothing, no jail, no death, none of that stuff, okay? But adversity causes you to have an appreciation for the things you've earned, okay? It allows you to be grateful, and as you look back and you do your retrospective work, you're going to be like, you know what? This was worth it, all right? So every time that you fail, every time you struggle, and every time you feel that pressure from life, I want you to understand it's not the end, okay? It is the beginning of your next level. Fail big, fail forward. Every setback is a stepping stone, and this is how you turn adversity into your advantage. If you guys like the video, hit the thumbs up button. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe. Make sure you check us out on AHA Communities. I'll put the link in the description box, and as always, the application of knowledge is power, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.